In this session, we'll be looking at the subject of sales and marketing. So we can define marketing as the process of planning and executing the conception, pricing, promotion and distribution of ideas, goods or services to create exchanges that satisfy individual or organisational goals. And selling can be seen as the act of completing the final exchange of goods or services for financial return. In basic terms, marketing is about communicating the product message to potential customers, whereas sales is concerned with the final output of the marketing process, which is the actual transaction itself. So by the end of this session, you should be able to describe the concepts of sales and marketing and their importance to the entrepreneur, describe the steps involved in the marketing process for the new firm, and also explain how you can apply the principles of marketing to your own business model in order to effectively generate tangible sales. So before we try to develop a marketing strategy for our business, we need to conduct some basic market research. Now, you may feel that you don't need to do much research, but this is a key phase of the business venture process and you need to take it seriously. But what research should you carry out in regards to the market? Well, here you should think about the following questions. Firstly, what is the demand for your product or service? For example, is the demand growing or shrinking, and how will you ensure you get a share of the market? Next, is this demand affected by general economic trends such as rising inflation or high unemployment? And if so, how do you plan to deal with this? Also, you need to consider how might customer requirements and buying behaviour change in the future, and what steps can you take to future-proof your business. You also need to be aware of any new products in the pipeline that can make yours look outdated, and think from this about how your product might need to develop to counter this. Similarly, you need to consider how your competitors are changing. For example, are they growing rapidly? Are they adopting new technology? Or are they entering new markets? And again, you need to think about how you will respond to these challenges. You also need to know what your competitors are offering and what price they are charging. And also you need to understand how your competitors advertise and promote themselves. And lastly, you need to be aware of any forthcoming legislation which could affect your place in the market. So how do we find the answers to these questions? Well, before undertaking time-consuming and potentially expensive primary research, you should look for existing data. Now, the UK has a vast amount of data collected by government, trade organisations and private sector companies, which is generally freely available online or via library. Once you've looked at existing source of information, you can then think about what the key themes are and how you would conduct some primary research of your own. For example, carrying out interviews with a small number of people or conducting surveys to gain feedback from larger numbers. Surveying large numbers of people will show you the broad trends, for example, what they do and when they do it, but it won't tell you why they do it. To get the answer to that question, you need to speak to smaller numbers of people in more depth. But in either case, you need to think very hard about what information you actually want to gather from your sample. So take some time to consider the questions you will ask your sample, and also whether the best way to obtain the data you're looking for to support your business case is to contact large numbers of people or to interview smaller numbers. Lastly, you need to think about who are the best people to contact in order to get the best results for your market research. Any research must be set in context, i.e. there must be an identifiable rationale for the questions you're asking. You must have researched your product and market first. Also, interpretation of the results is crucial, and in your business plan you need to clearly explain what you've found out and also what the data means. Remember that 100 people simply saying that they like your idea is just not enough to support your business case. You need to do more than this. We'll look more closely at some examples of traditional promotional activities in this session, but regardless of the promotional method selected, a consistent message needs to be communicated to inform, remind or persuade customers to buy from you and not your competitors. At the centre of any marketing strategy lies the message which the business wants to deliver. Consideration needs to be given to the advantages, strengths and weaknesses of your product, and you need to ensure that the customer understands both the features and the benefits of your product. So you need to clearly articulate these in your marketing activities. When attempting to do this, it's important that the entrepreneur finds the right mix in terms of price, product, place and promotion. And there are countless combinations in which these key elements can be combined in order to develop a USP or unique selling proposition. So there is a lot for the entrepreneur to consider when attempting to develop an effective marketing mix. Before you can market your product, you must identify your value proposition. And this is where any competitive advantage will lie. The key here is to identify what it is that's distinctive about your business that will give you an edge in the marketplace. Your USP can be identified by completing this phrase: competitors will buy from me and not my competitors because we offer something better. Now, the something better could be better quality, it could be better design, better customer experience, or better value for money, whatever applies to your specific offering. Whatever the business, it's important that the entrepreneur find the right blend of advertising and promotional activity to generate sufficient sales leads that we can then hopefully convert. Now, to get started, here are a range of fairly traditional examples of marketing activities which will get you thinking about the potential benefits and drawbacks of each medium. Again, we need to keep reminding ourselves that the key aim of marketing is to generate sales opportunities, and the critical consideration when undertaking any marketing activity is return on investment, or ROI, or in simple terms, how many real sales leads will be generated by our promotional activities. In each case, we need to look closely at the potential reach of each medium, or in other words, how many people we are likely to get our message in front of by using that particular medium. But we also need to be sure that the people we are reaching are the right demographic for our business. So let's look first at radio advertising. Now, here is a rule of thumb: radio advertising can be charged at a rate of approximately £2 per 1,000 listeners at any one time. So to clarify, if a radio show has 100,000 listeners at 10 AM, then buying a 30-second spot at that time will cost £200. Alternatively, the late show's 10,000 listeners at 11 PM would only cost £20. Generally, a slot of 30 seconds could cost around £250 to £1,000 per week, depending on how often your ad is broadcast and the amount of listeners. So thinking about both reach and demographics, does radio advertising represent good value for your business? So now let's think about print advertising, and here there are a few potential options. So firstly, we could target local newspapers, and the quality of these can vary greatly, but generally you can expect to pay in excess of £250 for a quarter-page advert. Next, we have national newspapers, which clearly will have a much greater reach, but also a much higher cost, as advertising in national newspapers is extremely expensive. As an example, it can cost over £30,000 for a full-page colour ad in a national newspaper, or higher. Next, we need to think about magazines, and here don't expect to pay less than £200 for a full-page ad in a magazine with a readership of 5,000 people. And in many cases, it will be considerably more expensive. Admittedly, if you're in a niche market, those 5,000 people may be potentially quite important for your business. But again, remember that we're trying to generate actual sales here, and you have to manage your marketing budget in such a way that you maximise your return on investment. So all things considered, does print advertising represent good value for your business? So now let's consider online advertising. So if we start with banner advertising, this involves placing a simple banner advert on somebody else's platform in order to drive traffic to your business, and the cost here can range from £1 to £20 per 1,000 impressions, depending on the platform and level of targeting. Next, we have pay per click, and this tends to cost a minimum of 20 pence per click, but there are also general awareness benefits to factor into this cost, as whilst you may not secure an immediate sale, you're still getting your business message out to your potential audience. So next we have email campaigns, and here large volumes of emails are generally sent to existing and potential customers to generate interest in a product, brand or special promotion. It's cheap, fast, and more than half of internet users check their emails at least once per day, but it can be difficult to determine how effective an email campaign has been, and you can expect to get a lot of bounce backs. And lastly, there's social media in general, and for most new businesses, this usually means pushing the message out in a few of the more popular platforms such as Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. And here campaigns can range from free to hundreds or thousands of pounds depending on the approach you take. So again, the question is, does this represent good value? So what about distributing traditional promotional materials? Well, business cards are commonly used to exchange contact details when networking, as we know. And cost here can vary considerably depending on the quality and the quantity of the business card, but you can expect to pay in the region of 5p per business card. Then we have flyers or handbills, and here the expected response rate will be in the region of 1 to 2%. However, the design of the leaflet, the type of leaflet, and the distribution method will all have an impact on the response rate, and the cost for these will vary considerably depending on the quality and quantity, but you can expect to pay in the region of 50p per flyer, and there may be a need to incur an additional cost to get someone to distribute them for you, as you are likely to be very busy simply running your business on a day-to-day basis. So again, does this represent good value? So now let's look at networking, and costs here for networking range from nothing at all to establish and develop a social media presence to up to several £100s a year to join a network such as the Chamber of Commerce, Business Network International or Federation of Small Businesses. Networking is good for creating awareness, especially at the early stage of the business when you really need to be an extremely active networker. But networking is also effective for developing real business relationships with influential people who may bring in sales. Remember here though that more legwork equals more leads, and with networking generally what you get out depends on what you put in. If you put the effort into networking, then you should see a reward in terms of sales leads generated. So marketing is a multi-stage process involving different activities that must all be integrated together, and in order to make any impact we need to adopt a logical approach to any marketing strategy. So let's take a look at that process. So first we need to set goals, and the marketing goals of a business depend upon the life cycle of the business venture, the stage in the life cycle of the product, the personal goals of the business owner, and the owner's own marketing philosophy. Next we need to conduct some market research, and here we need to define the target market. A marketing strategy is based on sound research, and there's a greater likelihood of success if the market research has been carried out effectively. The research is needed to fully understand a number of issues including market trends and dynamics, customer demand, product changes, and government requirements that might affect your business. From this we can start to identify who the target market is. A target market is the core group of customers that a business intends to focus its marketing on, and identifying one or more customer segments enables a small business to make the most of their limited promotional budgets. The firm's target market or core customers can be defined in any number of ways. So before we can target our customers, we need to know who they are. And to do this, a good way is to profile in detail a hypothetical customer. And for this, you can use the customer profiling tool. What we're attempting to do here is to describe an average customer and make some key assumptions about them and their lifestyle by answering some basic questions such as how do they spend their time, how do they spend their money, or do they have a family. The idea here is to identify some of the key characteristics, traits and behaviours that our potential customers are likely to display in order that we can better understand what motivates them. In doing so, we can start to build a better understanding of how we can target them effectively from a marketing perspective. Once we've profiled a customer, this allows us to then highlight other customer segments whilst thinking about the sort of relationship we need to build with each of these separate customer segments. Next, we need to prepare and implement the marketing mix, and as we can see, there's a wide range of promotional methods available to the entrepreneur and small business owner. But the method of promotion selection should reflect the target market and the product or service. For example, you could logically take the view that in order to target customers within the over 75 age group, we should avoid using social media as a marketing channel. So lastly, having developed the marketing mix, the business owner must implement the marketing strategy and then evaluate it to ensure the original goals are actually being met. Evaluation techniques include analysing where the sales are coming from, monitoring customer satisfaction levels, or carrying out a comparison of marketing expenditure and sales revenue in order to establish the return on investment. So in summary, you should remember the following key points. It's not enough to be better than everyone else. You need to communicate this effectively with your marketing activities. In order to do so, you need to thoroughly research your market. And a key part of this research will involve profiling your customers to understand their motivations. So in this tutorial, we will be discussing the business case for Rollermania. And in order to prepare for this, you'll need to familiarise yourself with the case study material on Moodle. Rollermania will provide the area with a new state-of-the-art roller skating entertainment facility which will cater for all age groups together with a new roller derby team based at the facility. The premises will be located in the town centre close to public car parking, and it will be easily accessible from public transport. Short, medium and long-term objectives have been identified which will enable the business to grow at a steady pace. The target market for Rollermania is families, young people and the roller derby league. People of all ages will try roller skating, but these target groups we think would use the facility on a regular basis if it existed. The marketing plan has been developed to target and attract these groups, and there are a few attractions in the area which would compete with Rollermania. However, an attractive and affordable pricing strategy has been put together to combat this. The project itself will be fully financed privately by the directors, with some support needed from a business angel investor. The project figures show that the business will make a small profit in its first year of operation. The three directors all have relevant skills and experience to bring to the project, and due to their excellent teamwork and skills, they feel that they have a very good chance of building a successful business. Once the business is established, expansion plans will be put in place to allow the business to continue to grow, and in doing so will provide employment and social inclusion for the local community.